All right. So, welcome everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Welcome to our podcast. Welcome to our Untitled podcast. My name is Carrington Hatton, and on the other line I have,
My name is Kasarian Spence.
and we came together to create a podcast. It was a very, I don't know, like impromptu thing. Who
Yeah,
knows? We're just coming together to share wisdom and that sort of thing. And we'll get more into what exactly we're going to talk about. But I guess we can start with introducing ourselves so that you know who exactly you're listening to.
mm,
So, my name is Carrington Hatton. I'm a student at Towson University right now. I am a law and American civilization major. I have a minor in theater. Um, Law is where I think my gifts and my skills most align, but theater is like kind of a passion of mine. Oops, I'm very interested in theater. It kind of lights me up, but what really lights me up is, knowledge, personal growth, wisdom, things like that. I think that's where my real passion lies.
yeah. I, my name is Kasarian. I am a creative writing major at Chatham University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So as you can see, we're doing this over like video call because we are not within close proximity of one another. My pronouns are he, him, his, um, and we, and like for me, creative writing, I just call it storytelling because like I can tell a story, whether that be through a novel, a short story, a video game, a movie, and all it's all just storytelling mediums. So that's what I call creative writing and it's storytelling. Yeah, I really do. I don't know. I do a lot of self reflection, self growth. I've been trying to journal a lot recently, so it's just I don't know, kind of fulfilling for myself. And it reminds me of growth that I've made, and it also highlights kind of what's lacking in others. Sounds pretentious, but like what I notice that like other people kind of lack sometimes.
Definitely. That just reminded me to bring up that, like, kind of my perspective on the personal growth thing is like lately it's been very spiritual. Like lately I've dived into like meditation. I've dived into, like the one consciousness that I feel like we all share type of thing. But like that's the kind of lens that I bring to the table, personal growth development. And in that obviously like includes like mental tools and things like that because this all this stuff starts with our mind. I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I believe in like a general energy in the world, right? I believe in like it manifests itself in like karma, but I really do believe that like you put out, you reap what you sow. If you're like just like a halfway decent person, you're going to get you're gonna probably end up surrounding yourself with halfway decent people.
So, Kasarian and I met in homeschool.
Yeah,
I don't have the wonderful memory of my childhood, not like wonderful and like positive or negative, but wonderful in terms of quality. Like I just don't remember a lot of things in my childhood, but from as far as I can remember, like I've known Kasarian.
yeah,
Um, we had a like a break, like a gap, whereas like we didn't talk to each other for whatever reason in high school. I think we were both just too busy.
yeah. We were busy. I think it was the year 27. It was the year 2017 because I remember we reconnected and like we had both we were both graduated. So,
Mm-hmm.
but we just hopped back on the bandwagon because it's all love.
Yeah, and we've been like this way. We've grown together this entire time. But more recently, I feel like right after that 2017, like linking back together and getting back in touch, we started to have these really deep conversations, like out of the
Yeah,
blue. I feel like,
I agree.
and yeah, we just like vibed and we were like sharing wisdom between each other, knowledge and growing. And then you hit me up and we're like, maybe we should start a podcast. And I was just like, hell yeah. Cause like there was a time when I needed to hear like the stuff we're talking about now.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that means that there's definitely people out here that need to hear, what we're going to be saying this time.
yeah. I think I listen to a lot of podcasts. I work overnight, so we're doing this at like 11 a.m. And I
Hmm.
am like a little tired because like I work until like 1 a.m. and then I gotta eat and then I finally fall asleep around 3 and whatnot.
Hmm.
But I listen to so much. I consume so many podcasts in my time at work because I can have my headphones on, and that's something that like enriches my day. Whether that it's mostly like gaming news podcasts. I was doing some true crime stuff, some just like news stuff, like or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like it's such a cool medium, and I feel like people our age haven't fully tapped into it yet. And I would
Yeah.
love to like I don't know, just have a dialogue with the audience and like put out some of these thoughts. And I
Mhm.
know that like if there's one person can really keep up to me in this specific topic, it's definitely Carrington.
Yeah, I 100% agree. There aren't many people that can I can talk to and like know that they're going to move the conversation forward and that I'm going to have, that kind of valuable experience that we're both, growing and learning in the conversation.
Indeed.
So you're definitely that person for me as well. And you also got me into podcasts. I was never really into them like that
Oh right.
at all, really. No, not at all. But you told me about a couple of them, like the one about philosophy, philosophize this, which
Mm-hmm.
is really, really great. Like, I feel like that was one of the places that really ignited my mind. And like, it was like, wow, people are really out here thinking about this deep stuff. Like, I'm about to step in and like contribute, type
Yeah,
of
straight up.
thing. Yeah, it was really awesome. Like, I've started to listen to like conversations, lectures, things like that, like on commuting on the way to campus.
Of
And
course.
I'm commuting this semester for the first time, but like having that time to, engage new ideas is just so freaking awesome. And you're right. Our generation is not really tapping into this much. Our generation seems to be characterized by very quick type of information absorbing, like the 60-second things. Obviously TikTok is the most popular platform right now,
Of course.
and most trending platform. But quick forms of content and quick forms of absorbing information are the norm, and I think that needs to be restructured into taking our time to absorb things, but also actively engaging with our material, like seeing what resonates with our world, our perspective, and then like actively, engaging with it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like I mean, think about it. We grew up on Vine, really. Right? Vine
Mm,
eventually fell by the wayside. But that ended up leading into 60-second skits because what happened was it was like Vine, which was 10 seconds, and then there was like YouTube. I mean, there was like Instagram who took Vine stuff, and that became like 15 seconds. Then it became 30 seconds. And now there's IGTV where you can upload like 30-minute videos, but still
mm,
most of our stuff is focused on like under 90 seconds.
mm,
So I agree. I think that we are a little bit too hasty in just like getting the full thing. I think that it's okay to just like sit and listen to stuff. Like I listen to podcasts all the time. I just sit on the porch and do a Sudoku, or I like have it on in the background while I'm cooking or whatever. It's just
mm.
this is just something that like I don't know, just to kind of enrich your daily life.
And one thing that you said that was really important is that, well, just like that you brought light to, is that you listen to a lot of podcasts, but you also listen to a lot of different ones. You're listening to a
Yes,
lot of different sources. And that's so crazily important because I think that with this, I mean, one example of this could be like celebrity mentality and like things like that. We gravitate to one person and then try and make them, the source of our information. We try to
absolutely.
make them, yeah, we try to make them think, we try to think that they have everything right and that whatever they say is right, and then get frustrated when that's not true. But I realized lately that there's probably not a single person on this planet that I'm going to agree with 100%.
Yeah, at 100%, and that's important. I think that you shouldn't be agreeing with your friends all the time, right? Because like you don't want to be in this like an echo chamber in general. I'm sure that that's going to come up in depth in another podcast like later down the
Mm-hmm.
line. But you really don't want to be in an area where people are always agreeing with you. Like you want to be able to like I don't know, explore different avenues and ways of thought and ways of thinking. So I think it's really, really important. I think it's really important that you like have people who disagree with you, and like don't always base like your philosophy and stuff off of like just like one person. You have to think like multiple times. You have to have people who think multiple ways about a certain topic, so you can get like all perspectives.
Yeah, and it's that friction that helps us to develop our own ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And lately, I've realized that we're all trying to create our own personal realities, our personal perspectives. But our perspectives are like entities within themselves. Like they don't have to conform to anything. Like it's okay for them to be
Yeah.
completely unique because we are completely unique. Like we all have different experiences. There's no way in the world, like with my lived experience and with your lived experience, we're gonna have the same perspectives and same life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I have, a very specific lived experience. And I talked to my siblings about this since you guys still don't know me. I have four other siblings. I have, like, I'm fully black, African American, whatever you want to call it. And, like, all my parents are, like, upper educated. Um, and it's still like, and I talked to my brother about this. Like, I feel like I was in a very specific lived experience because, like, where I'm from Baltimore, like, we're from Baltimore, and like, we were like very adjacent to like real like kind of like hood shit, right? And like
Yeah.
all our whole family is like educated, and we're also like we were like aware of that hood shit, but like we were also very like I don't know educated within ourselves. So I think it's very interesting. So like I don't really feel
Mm,
like anybody has the lived experience that I do.
yeah, absolutely. I definitely feel like you have that kind of bridge between the two worlds type of lived experience.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I don't. I don't have that lived experience. It took me a little bit longer to come to that realization. But I do like in the sense of us being homeschooled and then
Yeah,
going to, a private Christian high school, like that was a culture shock for sure. Um,
absolutely. I'm sure it was.
like because every single person that I met nearly had all been in like the school system for their entire life so far. So and then there was the transition between the Christian private school to Towson, a public university where
Straight up.
literally everybody's here, all religions, all ethnicities, all perspectives type of thing. Like that was another culture shock. After like it was that culture shock that helped me to realize that literally everyone is just working towards their own personal highest truth type thing.
Absolutely. I think that that really once you realize that you become more empathetic. I think that you really start to like listen to people better.
Mm,
Um and just start like understanding the world around you in a more kind of authentic way, and much more like
mm,
peaceful way. You're not kind of
hmm.
like trying to assert your mental dominance over folk. You're just like,
Yeah,
yeah, this person is doing this. This isn't necessarily how I would do it, but they're in the pursuit of happiness, and I am
yeah,
too. So we're just like kind of going about it differently.
yeah. Somebody in my class actually, it was my psychology 101 class I've taken this semester, and it's an elective. I was just like super
Of
interested.
course.
I love psychology for obvious reasons. But there was this girl in the class, and she was just talking. I think it was about coffee. I think it was about how coffee doesn't make her feel any more energized. It just doesn't do anything for her. And she's asking
Mm-hmm.
the professor about that. And I resonated with her. I was just like, oh, yeah, that's so true for me too. But like most of the class felt like caffeine to help them and get them more energized.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude next to me was like, when the girl was talking about how caffeine didn't affect her, he was like, "Oh, that's not true. Caffeine hypes me up." And I was just like, he doesn't even realize what he just did.
Yeah.
He just like invalidated her experience because his experience is different, as if
Yeah.
the two can't exist in the same space.
Precisely.
Um, and it's like we need to not take that acknowledgement for granted because it's such an important acknowledgement
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that
it's
those two
unfair.
perspectives can exist.
Oh no, go ahead. Yeah, I'm just saying it's unfair to do that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's just weird because like I feel like that's how the politics are going on right now anyway. I stepped out of that sphere for similar reasons, like just online discourse in general and in-person discourse. A lot of people don't realize that there's enough space for all of our views. There's enough space
Hmm.
for us all to be comfortable in our truths,
Yeah,
type of thing.
yeah. I
And
mean,
that's how I want people to be in this podcast. I want people to be, just taking what resonates and leaving what doesn't.
precisely. Yeah, I absolutely. You're not gonna agree with us like 100%. We're not really like trying to like I don't know like have you I don't know like put our brains in your brains. We're just trying to I don't know like drop a nugget or two. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because when we talk, I feel like we say we're I like talk a lot about what's going on like in my area in my sphere because I'm in a very not like I guess you could say segregated, not like aggressively segregated, but like I can tell like where the white folk live in Pittsburgh, where the black folk live, and but you are in Towson, and I know Towson is like filled with so many like different types of people. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, like I being here, being out of my comfort zone for a couple of years. I mean, this is my fourth year here. Like it's really, or third year, I guess. It's really been enriching to like see just different stuff. So I don't know. I think the whole point of this is for you guys to pick up what you want, leave what you don't. I don't know. Just join us along the ride because we're gonna get better. Maybe our cameras are gonna evolve. Maybe our mics are gonna evolve. Who knows? Like our topics or
Mm-hmm.
subjects. This is a experience for all of us. This isn't just like an experience just for you, the viewer or listener.
Absolutely. And speaking of the viewer, like between like the connections that we already have and the connections that we will make as a result of this podcast, we want to have those people come in here and like share their experiences because there's things that are so true and so important and things that, wisdoms and knowledge and things like that that we can share that will help a lot of people that you nor I may not even like have.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like we're both like cisgender men. You know what I'm saying? So like we don't really know how like women evolve in this space. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, that's true.
I have a lot of women friends, but I can't like speak for women. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Hmm.
and like I have some transgender friends, but I can't speak for transgender folk. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
Hmm.
it's like we're very aware of what we don't bring to the table, just as much as what we do.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, literally, literally. Oh
Yeah,
man, that's a huge one.
yeah,
But yeah, that's what we're here to do. We're here to create a space that's open, free, and not exhaustive. Like everything here is just not like, oh, this is the truth. Okay, we're saying what it is. Period. All right,
hmm,
have a good day. Believe what we said. Type thing. Definitely not.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, mm. and I know like our views and opinions, our stuff is gonna change throughout the podcast as well. So like, because
Mm.
time changes people. I did a little something something with Carrington's mother, and I was just like,
Okay.
I one things that I said during that was like, I'm very different from how I was like a week ago, let alone
That
today.
does sound a little bit weird. Maybe you should explain that it was an interview.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, my bad, bro. My bad.
No, you're
Like,
good.
yeah, like I did like an interview for with Carrington's mother, for like her service, and one of the things that I said was that I'm just laughing about what you said. Sorry. One of the things that I said was that I change from week to week, let alone like month to month, year to year, because I'm
Hmm.
constantly evolving, learning new stuff. You know what I'm saying? So like we're going to like our opinions might change. I don't think it's going to be like an aggressive shift or us
Hmm.
to really like I don't know bring the hammer down. And again, we're good at honest discourse, and I think that's also because
Hmm.
we have siblings. Like our like we can't just be like yelling all the time. Of course, it leads to
Nope.
that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but it's not always going to be like that. So like don't expect our views to stay the same either.
Mhm. Yeah, and having a space for other people's views is so interesting, especially when you think about siblings, because we grew up in the same household, same parents, but we all came out different ways.
Yeah,
And you end up having to respect those different ways that they came out. Because, like, I don't know, for me, I was just like, how is it that like we live under the like exact same circumstances to an extent,
right.
and then y'all come out so different? I'm just like fascinated by that, and absolutely, there's a sense of respect that I have for my siblings.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. All four of my siblings are vastly. We're all different from one another, and there's not nothing bad about that. Of course, we have like similar love for our like our parents and our grandparents, but you know, it's always different. It's always different. You know, so
Yeah, definitely. But they all have something to bring to the table. Like my brother Chris, for example, he's like he's grown a lot lately,
mm,
interestingly enough, but he's way different than me. Like whereas I'm the one to like say everything first type of thing and like very quote unquote extroverted.
mm,
Um Whereas he's the opposite, kind of more introverted, like he'll come and go as he please type of thing. Whereas I would let people know. I don't know. He always has something to bring to the table though that I may not have considered. Like I'm more of the person to observe and then react in the moment, but he observes over a longer period of time and then he comes out with the most profound things. Like just he and I have vastly different ways of operating, but we
yeah,
both have something to bring to the table for sure.
yeah, yeah, and it definitely does allow you to like I don't know treat people with different perspectives with respect. Um, and yeah, that's important, and it also allows you like to share and be empathetic with others. It's I don't know. That's part of my like lived experience. I talk a lot about how I have siblings and how like I'm not always right. Like my if there's somebody who's gonna tell you if you wrong, it's your siblings, bro. Like it's always gonna be your siblings. So
Yeah.
and I got two older and I got two younger. I'm the middle of five, so like they will tell me.
Mm.
Like somebody's gonna tell me. So I don't know. I think it's
Wait, yeah, could you elaborate on that?
oh what I'm being in the middle.
On like having someone tell you what's right and wrong type of thing. You said they'll tell you.
Yeah, I mean like I have like my grandparents were really influential in my life. Like they would tell me like, this is what you should do like as a man. And even like my older brother, my older siblings, like my older sister, she would tell me like they would both tell me, excuse me, that like if something was like if I should do something differently or if like something was not necessarily appropriate or whatever. I don't know. It was just like it was weird, but like it and then like my parents did like the same thing. They were like, "Oh, don't hang out with these people." Um and that type of thing, even though I'm a big believer in like you have to make mistakes. And sometimes your parents are wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like your parents do
Hmm.
have lived a life, but society changes in slight ways. But because society's so large, those slight ways end up leaving like drastic chasms before between just generations on certain topics.
Hmm.
So like they would tell me, "Oh yeah, don't hang out with these types of folk or whatever," and I'm like, "Why?" Because like I have friends whose like parents went to jail, and she was like, my mom's would be like, "No, don't hang out with them because they might go to jail." Blah blah blah. But funnily enough, like those friends, like they never went to jail or anything. It's just like I don't know. It's just they would drop these like tidbits or these ideas, but the difference and the problem was it was that like those ideas were from their lived experience, not mine.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that from at least, yeah, from my parents' perspective as well, like it was difficult, like making that connection for me, like that they're human too. They don't necessarily know, they're not, divine truth. And I kind of grew up, and then subconsciously, I think I grew into that kind of perspective that they were divine truth and that what they said was true. But then my lived experience was not resonating with that, and then I was able to confront that and realize that that wasn't the case. But you were talking about how you have those, the people that are older than you, pretty much your older siblings and your parents, like speaking into your life. But how was it then as a middle child having two younger siblings? Because I'm the youngest, so I don't even really. I have a younger cousin. She kind of looks up to me in that sense, but beyond that, I don't have any insight into that. So what was it like having two younger siblings, or speaking into each other's lives, type of thing?
Um, it was it's difficult, right? So like when I was younger, like my older brother was like, the stereotypical older brother, like he was like mean, he was like all that stuff. And then I ended up kind of taking that out on my younger brother. But later on in life, I just was like, okay, this is obviously not it. And it's also
Mm-hmm.
like guiding them that isn't in a way of like, again, you should do this. It's that I don't know. Like, this is a choice that you probably need to make yourself. Like, for example, my parents are separated. My mom just moved to Texas with her with my father-in-law or stepfather. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
my little brother, he wanted to he had to ask, he had to choose if he wanted to stay in Baltimore or move to Texas. And he asked my guidance, and I'm like, in these particular instances, I cannot guide you. Like, this is a very you decision. I want to, like, I could give you the facts. I could be like, look, if you stay in Baltimore, there's a lot of, like, rah rah and whoop de whooping in Baltimore. So that's something that you might want to consider. If you go to
Mm-hmm.
Texas, you don't know what you're going to get. You would not know. I don't know anything about Texas. I lived in Baltimore my whole life. I go to Michigan to see my grandparents, and that's really my state knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
now I live in Pittsburgh, but Texas is totally different. This is the deep south. It's west. You know what I'm saying? It's even on a whole different time zone. So I couldn't really guide him. What it was for me really is understanding your ignorance in certain topics and knowing when to speak and when not to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I don't know about something, I can very maturely say, I don't really know anything about this. Like, I don't know about that. Or that's
Yeah.
out of my realm of expertise, or blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah. Um, and then I don't really speak on it anymore. But
Yeah.
as soon, especially with your younger siblings, they're impressionable. You don't want to tell them something, and if unless you have like not necessarily the whole truth, but you have a nice solid foundation of what you would like want
Mm-hmm.
to say to them.
Yeah, I think that that message connects a lot to this podcast because we were talking about this in my sexuality in a diverse society class, and we were talking about childhood development, like child rearing, things like that. And one of the things that came up was how we talk about what children should do, for example. And I lost my train of thought for a second. Right. What was really important was teaching them not what they should and shouldn't do, but how to make decisions. And I think
Yeah,
that's exactly what's going on here.
yeah,
We're giving people tools on how to better make decisions, but we're not telling them necessarily what they should and shouldn't do because I think one of the most beautiful parts about life is that we're actors. We're, the creators of our own lives.
mm-hmm.
Um, and when we lose that authority, like, I know for me, like when I blindly took others' advice, I ended up being a little bit resentful when bad things became of those circumstances or
Of course.
whatever choice it was that I made because it wasn't mine. It was mine to make, and I didn't take that, initiative and that power that I do have over my life to make that actual decision. I took someone else's word for it. I thought that they were right. I thought that I could have peace and be free of having to make the decision because, they were the one. I don't know. Maybe it was just easier for me to give up my autonomy, in that sense.
Yeah.
And I've also noticed this in my TikTok page. So since you all don't know, most likely. I have a TikTok page at Carrington Hatton, and it's all about spiritual topics, knowledge, personal growth, research, things like that. And people give up information, like personal information, all the time in the comment sections.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "Oh, I've experienced this," or "I have the anxiety here. I have when I try and meditate this and that," and they give up their personal experience and expect me to somehow help them. Usually, I like try and give them some kind of resource or tip or tool that might help, but I don't
Right.
know what's going to work. I really don't know what's going to work for a person or individual person. So
Right.
literally all I'm doing is throwing it out there and hoping something sticks, and then hoping that someone will take the initiative off of that and apply it. And if it doesn't work, then find something else. But if it does, awesome. That's why I did it. You
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the mature way to do it. Like people who like continuously like assert themselves as like, oh, I know everything. I talked to somebody about this like a while ago. It was like people who think that like they're the smartest person in the room and tell everybody they're the smartest person in the room normally upset me and they frustrate me because odds are they're not the smartest person in the room. But also it's because like they end up saying things and asserting things as fact. Um,
Mm,
and that's like one of my coworkers, right? Like it kind of frustrates me, but it is what it is because that's how people do. But I know that that's not how I want to conduct myself in my
mm.
life, and definitely not like in a forum like this in this podcast.
Yeah, stuff like that made me really, really uncomfortable. And like, this is still something I'm trying to unwire in my brain, like
Yeah,
the concern about facts. Because a lot of people that I know are literally like that. They, like you said, assert things as facts. And then that kind of gives off the energy that if I go out and try and voice, they say, like, this is true and this is fact and this is how it is, instead of, the personal reality, highest personal truth thing that we were talking about,
of course.
it gives off the energy that if I assert, my personal truth, then I am going to be challenged. I have to prove it. I have to literally like throw it out into this like this for lack of a better term, like coliseum, and people are
Yeah,
gonna freaking challenge it and just like go into battle with my
yeah,
belief in it. It's like that's so fucking scary. Like what in the
yeah.
world?
Absolutely.
It's really fucking scary. But thankfully, that's not really how it works, and that's not the kind of space that we're creating either.
Yeah, yeah. It's like your personal experiences are personal and they're not valid, but you can't really assert your personal truth like on somebody else and be like, this is exactly what happened. This is like, you know, like because it didn't happen to me, it didn't happen to you. That's unfair. That's like invalidating somebody
Mm.
else's lived experiences, and it's not really fair. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
there are some like black people who have never experienced like overt racism or they didn't realize it, right? But that doesn't mean that
Mhm.
like racism don't exist or that regular black people
Yeah,
like other black people aren't experiencing racism on a regular basis.
yeah, yeah. I feel like what people who practice those kind of behaviors don't realize is that someone else's experience being different than yours is not a threat to your experience.
Absolutely.
Neither experience is invalidated by having both of those experiences exist in the same space. Like, oh man, that that's a huge one that I feel like a lot of people don't realize. But honestly, feel like also a lot of the people listening to this podcast probably got, you know, a couple of things under their belt already. One
Yeah.
of the things probably will be that. So if you're listening to this, it's most likely the case that you already want to grow. You already want to be better. You're already on that path to, personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and you've already established for yourself that you can be better. So like a lot of these truths you know, are like standard, part of that, starter pack kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, straight up. Straight up. Yeah. Yeah, it's super important. I don't know, like that I ruminate a lot on like again myself, my own self growth.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think you have to be open to ideas and you have to be like ready to talk about. I think your lived experience is important to like how you conduct yourself and how you like think about certain things. That's why I'm very open about how like how I've lived, how my parents are educated, how like we kind of grew up like lower middle class anyway, despite education. And that's what leads me to be who I am, right? And that's how like there are gaps, right? There are gaps in my knowledge because I don't know how certain people interact. Like I don't really interact with like rich people, right? It's just not
Hmm.
like who I am. I don't really know like rich folk. So I can kind of like assume in my mind I already have like my own little like prejudice. I'm like, oh, rich people are rich, like like they don't have no
Hmm.
worries, but then that's
Right,
not that's
right.
not the truth,
Yeah,
like
there's no basis for that yet.
exactly. So like I don't know, once you start understanding your personal truth and once you start understanding the gaps that creates for yourself, a lot of things you can go out of your way to fill in those gaps.
Mhm. Yep, that's exactly it. I think that right now I'm in the season doing exactly that, going out of the way to fill in those gaps because I realized just how many gaps there are.
Mm,
And this summer I was like shut it all down. I started from zero. I was just like, all right, nothing, there's nothing.
yeah,
All the assumptions that I have, they don't exist. And
absolutely.
I don't know where they came from because I spent my entire life being conditioned and I didn't know that I was being conditioned
Mm,
about how things are, biases, stereotypes, like you said, um, but stuff like that. But yeah, like literally, we need to step back and take time to figure out what's what actually.
yeah, yeah. So it's a process, and you having a lot of gaps is like natural too. It's not
Mm-hmm.
some sort of character flaw or defect. I don't know. Like definitely be open to understanding that. Like you, the viewer, me, Carrington, like we all like have these gaps, and they're gonna be sometimes they're gonna be like large in one area, sometimes they're gonna be small in one area, but we just have to do the work in order to address them.
Yeah, and that's like literally what this process is. It's accepting yourself from where you are and acknowledging what you want to be better. And if you want
Yeah.
something to be better, you work towards that. But there is no wrong in this journey. There is no I should, there is no I'm wrong about this or this is wrong about me. Like, no,
Mm-hmm.
these are all things that we can adjust. And once you finally sit down and realize that you can change it, yeah, that's the first step.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
Well,
oh, I was
mhm.
about to say, I know we're running low on time because I know you got class at 8.
Yo, I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we talked about a lot. Let's both choose like a thought that we want to leave our viewer with, and then we can close. I think for me, that thought would be just being open.
Mm-hmm.
That thought would be, acknowledging that you have your highest personal truth, but acknowledge that every other individual has that as well.
Of course.
Um, and also taking what resonates, leaving what doesn't, like that perspective is so freeing when it comes to seeking out knowledge and
Of
seeking
course.
personal growth. And yeah, I think that's the space that we're creating on the show.
Yeah, I think what I would suggest people do is think about where, like, think about maybe a prejudice you might have or an opinion that you might have and challenge it a little. Maybe
Hmm.
not fully like dive into it, but like understand it, try to understand where it comes from, go out of your way, try to challenge it in one way, shape, form, or fashion. You know what I'm saying? And it could be, like whatever. Like I think that all Canadians are nice. You know what I'm saying? Like that was like the whole thing. As a young person, um, but it could be whatever. You know what I'm saying? So try to challenge that so you can open your mind to different perspectives.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, hopefully by the time we get this episode up, excuse me, we'll have a title for our podcast. But
Indeed.
I think that this was pretty cool for an untitled podcast. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, yeah. I definitely do think that we're on to something, and we're
Yeah.
gonna get a title soon.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for listening and have a wonderful day.
Yeah.